Hi guys! So you guys already know about independent clauses. We've covered dependent clauses a little bit. We've talked specifically about the dependent adverb clause. Today I want to talk about what do you do if you have two independent clauses with an adverb clause also in that same sentence. The name of this quiz is adverb clause in the middle, but actually your adverb clause might come at the beginning or the end of your sentence too. And like I said, we're specifically talking about those sentences that have two independent clauses and one adverb clause. Let me show you guys one. Okay, so it says, Carl whistled while he strolled through the train yard, but the fear in his mind got stronger with every step. Okay, so this one has two independent clauses. Carl whistled, okay, and then the other independent clause is the fear in his mind got stronger with every step. Okay. The dependent clause is while he strolled through the train yard. Do you guys hear how that one could not stand on its own as a sentence? It starts with a clause starter, while. It has a subject and a verb, he strolled, while he strolled through the train yard. We wouldn't be able to say that as a sentence, but we could say Carl whistled. That is an independent clause. And we could say the fear in his mind grew stronger with every step. That's also an independent clause. So how do you put two independent clauses and an adverb clause together in a sentence and make sure your punctuation is proper? Well, write the sentence the way you would normally write it, the way you want to write it, and then I'll show you what you can do with your punctuation after that. So if you don't know exactly where the punctuation goes, that's what I'm going to teach you today, okay? So the first thing I want to do is I want to isolate the two independent clauses. I'm going to erase the dependent clause real quick. Let me pause this and I'll erase that real quick. And then in the exercise that you guys are getting ready to do, you will mentally erase the dependent clause, okay? You'll just have to say, okay, which one's the dependent clause? This is the one I'm going to erase. Can't actually erase it on the quiz, but you can look at the rest of the sentence after you kind of mentally remove the dependent clause. Okay, so this is what I have left. We have Carl whistled, and I left the comma in. This comma would go right here after whistled. Carl whistled, but the fear in his mind grew stronger with every step. Okay, so I took out the dependent clause, I left the two independent clauses, and now that we have these two left behind, we can ask ourselves, okay, if it was just these two independent clauses, would they be separated correctly? And the answer is yes, because there is a comma here, and there's a coordinating conjunction. Like I said, this part right here, let's pretend it's written right here. Okay, Carl whistled, but the fear in his mind grew stronger with every step. Okay, so because that comma was right there in the sentence, that means these two independent clauses are separated properly. If it was a semicolon without the but, without the coordinating conjunction, that would also be proper. If it was a period, that would also be proper. So if it had said, Carl whistled while he strolled to the train yard, and then you had a semicolon or a period, and then it said the fear in his mind grew stronger with every step, that would also have been correct. You just wouldn't have needed the coordinating conjunction in those cases. Okay, so I think you guys are ready to take section 1 in the 5th quiz, adverb clause in the middle. And like I said, you're going to be identifying the dependent clauses that you would be removing if this were a paper test. Okay, you'd be striking through them. And then you're going to be looking at your two independent clauses that you have left and see if the punctuation in between them is proper or not. Remember, it either has to be a comma plus a coordinating conjunction or a period or a semicolon in order to be proper. Okay, I'll let you guys do that. All right, for section 2, I'm going to show you guys another one. This one says, Nathan tried to open his car door after the heavy storm, but it was frozen shut. Okay, so what is our dependent clause? I'm trying to get the shadows out of here for you guys. I don't know if I can this morning. Okay. So our dependent clause starts with a dependent clause starter. This is an adverb clause again. After the heavy ice storm. Okay, that is the dependent clause. So we are going to remove that and just consider the two independent clauses that we have left. I actually wrote that one down here. Okay, Nathan tried to open his car door, but it was frozen shut. So we've removed after the heavy ice storm. Okay, so you can see. Not just mentally this time, but you can actually see what it looks like when we've removed that. And then we're going to ask ourselves, is the punctuation correct? And it is. It has a comma and a coordinating conjunction. We could also put a period here or a semicolon and get rid of the conjunction, and that would be correct as well. Okay, so now the next thing you need to do after that, because you still want to say after the heavy ice storm, you don't want to just leave it like that. You want to, okay, let's look back up here so I can explain it a little bit. So we have after the heavy ice storm, and we're going to ask ourselves, which part of the sentence does that dependent clause go with? Does it go with Nathan tried to open his car door, or does it go with it was frozen shut? Okay. Nathan tried to open his car door after the heavy ice storm. That's the part that it goes with, okay? I'm trying to think of if there is, I guess once in a while it might be a little confusing to know which side of the sentence it goes with, but I think that normally it's going to make sense either way. I think normally it'll be obvious, okay? When it's not obvious, it'll make sense either way, and it won't matter which one you choose, okay? So what I did here is I took out the rest of the sentence. So this just says, Nathan tried to open his car door after the heavy ice storm. I took out the part that says, but it was frozen shut. Because now I want to look and see how this independent clause is connected with a dependent clause. Okay, I want to look and see if that's done properly. I'm not sure if we've talked about this or not, but if an adverb clause comes first in a sentence, you always have to put a comma after it. And if it comes after the independent clause, you don't need the comma. So this one has the independent clause first. Nathan tried to open his car door after, let's see. Yeah, Nathan tried to open his car door. That is the independent clause, and since it comes first, you don't need a comma after it. After the heavy ice storm is your adverb clause. You do not need a comma there, okay? So if you look back up here at the very beginning one, Nathan tried to open his car door after a heavy ice storm, comma, but it was frozen shut. We know that's correct because the first two parts of the sentence don't need a comma between them because it's independent clause and then dependent clause. And then you do have a comma over here to divide the first independent clause from the second independent clause. Okay, so that might be a lot, but in the next section, all you're going to do is mentally remove the independent clause that you don't need, and you're just going to be looking at the independent clause and the dependent clause that go together, and then you're going to be considering whether they need a comma in between there or not. I'm going to show you one that does require a comma really quickly. All right, so I've written, now I have the dependent clause first. After the heavy ice storm, comma, Nathan tried to open his car door. So if the dependent clause comes first, you get a comma. And I left the other one down here. If the independent clause comes first, you don't get a comma. Now, both of these, again, took out the independent clause that we don't need to consider to know whether we need that comma or not. So I don't think the next section will be very hard. You're just going to decide what you need to remove so that you'll just have the independent clause and the dependent clause that go together. And then you'll need to decide whether you need a comma or not. And that's easy. If the dependent clause is first, you do. And if the independent clause is first, you don't. Okay? So you guys are ready for section 2? All right, and that's it for today, guys. Be sure you leave me feedback. Sometimes I struggle over my words. I can't think of the right word at the right time, and I know I need to work on that a little bit. I'm going to try to do a little bit better job with that. But please leave me negative feedback, positive feedback. It doesn't matter. Let me know if I'm confusing. Let me know if there's anything I can do to make this easier for you guys. I'm hoping that once I do the video, once I show you guys the things on the whiteboard, that if we get into the quiz and then you see all those things again on paper, so to speak, that everything will gel for you and that it'll be easy. So that is my goal, is to make this easy for you. I hope you're enjoying this. Please leave me feedback. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Bye.